welcome back to the Sideline Chat podcast. Now switching up gears, it is week 8 of the Betfred Super League and it is Rivals Round. And as the Easter program is in full swing, starting off our action, we have the Castleford Tigers kicking off our 6-game-long Sky Sports all-inclusive coverage between Castleford and Wakefield.
So, back on last week, we had Castleford go down to Catlin's Dragons 22 points to 18. Very competitive match there for once from Castleford. And Wakefield absolutely get destroyed by St. Helens 38 points to 0.
Again. Destroyed again.
Yes.
It's really no surprise how bad Wakefield has started the year. Like the Tigers, West Tigers, they've recruited well and now played absolutely shockingly.
Did that surprise you though?
No, not really.
Especially with the... No, let's not mention it this week. Let's not mention it this week. But yeah, no. I mean, coming against St. Helens, Wakefield not going to be in it whatsoever. St. Helens obviously way too good, as what they always have been over the past 4 seasons.
The fact they lost Alex Wormsley with a hamstring injury inside the opening 3 minutes, and they didn't necessarily bend or break.
No. That just shows how good they are.
And then they just raided the edges faster than an artificial turf at Bellevue.
We're not going to mention that this week.
Well, they're not at home, so of course we're not going to mention it.
But yeah, it was always going to be a one-way traffic result there.
And even with all the loaning signings they've made from Huddersfield, Innes Senior was playing fullback, I believe. Sam Hewitt was out there. Nathan Mason, I think, is the latest name aimed to sign out to Wakefield on loan from the Giants, because I think, from me and Watson's point of view, he can afford it at this point with how many players he does have available of a high caliber. But you looked at how Wakefield conceded probably a large portion of the tries. It was soft goal line defence, and it was even more edges pulled out of position. And Tommy Makinson got a try. Will Hopewadi picked up another one. And then Conrad Harold just barrels his way through over the top of Senior at the end of it for 2 tries.
Yeah. I mean, what more do you expect from Conrad Harold? Like, seriously, he's got the size, and he's just way too powerful down the centre. It showed.
Strike. Absolutely too much strike. Johnny Lomax picks up my free vote. Oh, it's for this week. 1 try, 4 try assists, 70 run meters, and 2 tackle breaks. I believe that was actually game 300 for Johnny Lomax as well. So that's a good
credit to him.
Well done. To score on your milestone game. But Jack Wellesby, also a big effort from him as well.
As normal.
160 run meters, 2 try assists, 5 tackle breaks, and 2 line breaks. He gets my 2 votes for this week. Saints, even without Wormsley, they were flying against the worst team in Super League at the moment.
Well, you could say Castleford is as well, but yeah, Wakefield's worse.
As for Castleford, they actually had a chance to pull off an upset against the Catalan Dragons in the south of France.
They certainly did. I mean, looking at that scoreline, and even at half-time, they were only 6 points down at half-time. Turns out to be they're only 4 points in it at the end.
Now, apparently, Gareth Widdop was a strange omission from the side that went down to the south of France, only for Andy Last, interim coach, to confirm that they actually had a bout of diarrhea go through the camp.
Oh, that's no good at all.
So Widdop was amongst those who had to be isolated from the rest of the playing group. Understandable.
Yes.
No one wants to be a piece of shit.
Well, the rate the team have been going at the moment. But as you said to me off air today, Jack Broadbent helped. My guy, Jack Broadbent was up there.
His 2 tries really put the Tigers into a good position to possibly carry on with the win. And I mean, broken up by Jordan Turner's try in the middle of with some good work down their left-hand side attacking. It was Broadbent's try, a long-range try from dummy half, split at the markers. Archie Morg nowhere to be seen. That dragged the Tigers into the game, and they got to the front only to lose the game with 5 minutes to go with Mike McMeekin scoring the match-winning try against his former employers.
Yeah, but it was a very, very competitive matchup, and probably besides the win against the Rhinos earlier on in the season, that's been the most competitive the Tigers have been all season.
Now, I will say, I mentioned Archie Moore earlier about how we shouldn't have let the second Broadbent try in, but he was the Catalan Dragons' best player on ground as well. 1 try, 142 run meters, 3 tackle breaks, 1 line break, 2 offloads, and converted a single goal. Sam Tompkins actually he made his comeback off the bench in place of Mitchell Pearce for a spell
that's
of the game.
the first time we've seen Sam Tompkins all season.
Well, to be fair, we actually haven't seen many games with the Catalan Dragons in front of the Sky Sports cameras. The only game we have seen was round 4 when they beat the Wigan Warriors. That was an impressive feat. Other than that, Channel 4, because we don't get it in Australia, but people in Britain did, so they saw Catalan for 2 telecast games, one unpaid subscription, the other British free-to-air.
That sucks about being in Australia trying to watch England Super League. We don't get many games at all. It's only what Sky Sports
It's
show.
only the games that are in front of the Sky Sports cameras and then in front of the Channel 4 cameras that we don't get. But they really need to look at that
plus
broadcast deal.
And plus whatever one that doesn't get shown at all over in England on Channel 4 or Sky Sports.
Well, those games, they just don't play in front of a televised
Yeah, that's what I
audience.
mean. That's what I mean, Dave.
It's something to look at, but all 6 games this week are in front of a televised audience.
Woo!
And so we'll get to
Good
see
for us
everyone
Aussies.
involved.
Good for us Aussies. It's such a shame, though, because they can... I know that NRL gets played over there in England.
Yeah, a couple of games a week.
Just the reverse way of how we do it over here, except that they use the footage on Fox Sports on their Sky Sports and vice versa what they do here.
Now, Castleford at home, they are expecting, of course, I would imagine Gareth would have slots into the halves alongside Jacob Miller after missing out, so Broadbent probably goes back to the centres and then maybe Turner or Fanua drop out or back to the bench.
You
As
think
for
so?
Wakefield, God knows how they're going to line up this week.
Well, put it this way, I don't think this will be a contest. This is
the two
this
worst
is
sides.
11th versus 12th on the ladder.
Exactly.
In
Castleford
Barnes.
have had 1 win to show for it to this point.
Hey, get this though. Just think about it. Just here on the dot. Same situation as last year. Rivals round. Wakefield's in it. Wakefield was second or last on the ladder. Second last on the ladder last year. Come rivals round. I think they was second last. But and then last year was Toulouse was against Catman, wasn't it? Last year.
Yeah, it was Toulouse against Catalan.
But they were on the bottom. But this time... Oh, sorry. I was going to say, the 2 bottom teams this year are playing in rivals round like it was last year, but it wasn't. Catalans are at the top. But
A lot more up the top.
yeah, so that was my misunderstanding there. But 2 years in a row, Catalans have been 12th, or second last, and they're in rivals round again.
But you look at the number of players Wakefield have had to go through inside their own squad and all loanee signings. Sam Hewitt, Will Dagger, Inner Senior, now going to be joined by Nathan Mason for this week as well. Everyone who started in round 1, Tom Lynham hasn't played since round 2. Lewis Murphy did his ACL 3 rounds in, so
He's gone.
He's out of the picture. Lee Gaskell hasn't played since mid-March. Mason Lino is probably the only one who's played the 7 games straight up. Jai Whitbread another. Matty Ashurst, Jay Pitts. Kevin Proctor hasn't been seen for the last 3 weeks. Liam Kay has shifted between fullback and hooker in the last 5. George Tafua only missed 2 games so far. Lee Kershaw's played the last 5 straight. But Wakefield have gone nowhere. They have been nilled 3 times in 7 rounds.
Yeah. Especially against last week against St. Helens.
What a mess. What an absolute mess they are in.
Is there another similar vote as what is the West Tigers and the St. George
Well, it's
Illawarra?
probably worse than the West Tigers at the moment.
No. Is it the coach or is it the board?
I just think it's the way the side's assembled that they've somehow managed to last this long in the top flight in this decline since 2020.
Well, they missed out last year because they only went on to run at the back end of the season. So, yeah. Surely this is the year we see Wakefield drop out. Surely.
It's heavily setting up this way, and they're not going to get any joy against Castleford. I think the Tigers get another win up on the board, 7-12, and lock Wakefield deep inside the drop zone.
Yeah. Yes, these two are last and second last on ladder. But the better side is Castleford.
By a long shot.
And they will be on a little bit of a high after nearly beating Catlands. Whereas Wakefield, St. Helens drove them into the ground and the misery a lot more, which was expected to be. But yeah, Castleford 7-12.
Now, to the main Good Friday event, starting off with the Hull Derby. Hull FC playing host to Hull KR at the MKM Stadium in Hull. Hull FC going down to Warrington 34-6 at the Hallowell Jones Stadium, whilst Hull KR put in a very good performance against the Leeds Rhinos, walking away 20 points to 12 winners.
Well, what we're going to start off with, the worst Hull side or the better Hull side?
The worst Hull side because they are the home side.
So that'll be Hull FC.
Yep, Hull FC.
Well, again, to be expected, Warrington are now 7-0 to start the year, which is unbelievable. And they just seriously outclassed Hull FC.
Outclassing was an understatement. How many times did you see Warrington make a break that led to a try?
Nearly every single try, if not all the tries that Warrington scored.
That big forward pack is now counting against them. I mean, Warrington's got a big pack themselves, but at least they actually got some fitness about them. You look at Cassiano. He's probably the biggest forward on there, but he's still all playing decent. Then you got experienced hand, Ben Curry, a youngster like Matty Nicholson. No Darryl Clark, but Danny Walker's still a very good dummy half on there.
Well, speaking of Nicholson, did he not score a double?
He got at least one try.
At least one try, yeah.
And just the speed of the back line they've got in there. George Williams. It's hard for anyone to really ignore George Williams at this point. And he's gotten my 3 points again. This is now the fourth time in 7 rounds I've ended up picking George Williams.
You might as well just claim your MVP for the year now.
Not yet. There's still a long way to go.
Oh, no, but the rate it's
Williams'
going.
performance in this game, 131 run meters, 3 try assists, 3 tackle breaks, 2 offloads. From the chip for Ben Curry, which was practically a Superman try he scored.
That was the Superman try.
To the line break he made that put Matt Duffy away.
Hey, Matt Duffy's going along all right in Warrington.
Yeah,
he joined him.
Flying with the number 1 on his back for a change.
Although Paul Warner's been a little bit quiet.
Vaughan's still doing his job, I reckon. He's still making good ground for Warrington.
But he hasn't been... I thought he was scoring tries a little bit more often than what he has. But then again...
I would put that down to probably the...
But the rest of the pack of Warrington are really solid too. So.
And they're building in confidence, this Warrington side. Hull on the other end, they got a big pack. Savelio, Cater, Sal, Sarte, a Fash, one of the smaller men in that pack. Brad Dwyer, that was meant to be the Spark. Spark's gone out.
Yeah. Well, he did score a try.
In typical Brad Dwyer fashion, jump from dummy half and take the defensive line off guard.
But he had to do it over his head too, I think. I think he had to do it while I was laying him on his back, so...
They're missing... I don't think even if you brought Jake Truman back into this lineup, they're going nowhere.
No.
They're absolutely floundering under Tony Smith, and it's sad to see.
Yes, because Tony Smith is a very capable coach.
I mean, he was able to salvage Hull KR's dire position after being claimed wooden spooners in 2020 to a top 6 semi-final appearance in 2021.
And they just missed out last year.
And he recruited well last year, but it just they came crashing back to earth. And speaking of Hull KR, Willie Peters has been the difference for them this year.
Yeah.
He's got them playing well. I mean, who would have said Hull KR to knock off Wigan and Salford in the opening weeks?
Well, against Salford, that's somewhat because the rate Salford's going. But against Wigan, that was a surprise.
And they've done it again because I thought Leeds had turned a corner heading into this miserable weather event at Selwell Group Craven Park.
Well, it's typical England weather.
But even so, the rain was pouring in this one.
Typical England weather.
But they just let it slip. And Jordan...
Pun intended.
No, literally. They let it slip out of their grasp. The kicking game of Jordan Abdul. You look at the two early tries Hull KR scored. You had Suaso Su chasing in.
Not long after he got on the field, mind you.
So amongst the first touches of the game, 25 minutes in, and that's amongst the first couple of tries scored, James Batchelor almost scored after another pinpoint kick from Jordan Abdul, found Lewis Senior on the right edge, and then I think there was at least one more kick that resulted in a try, and I believe that was Lewis Senior as well, wasn't it?
Let me just double check. No, Kane Leonard. Kane Leonard, Suaso Soon, Lewis Senior would have tried to score us for Hull KR.
Yeah, that's right. The kick-off on the second half, that was what did Leeds in. They let the ball bounce inside 10 seconds. No. Just absolutely no. You should not let the ball bounce. And Suaso Su almost got a double. Almost. His eyes would have lit up faster than the Christmas lights.
Yeah, and it's just crazy though. But Leeds, well, they just disappeared to.
Jordan Abdul was the difference. 62 run meters, 2 try assists, 2 tackle breaks, an offload, and maybe 1 or 2 goal line dropouts on top of that. The kicking game, he kicked Leeds into submission. Austin and Caesar failed the fire.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Leeds, they've been a bit hot and cold this year. It's hard to get a read on how they are this year, to be quite fair with you. Like, been runners-up in the grand final last year. They
got blown off the park by Warrington in round 1.
Yeah. They did beat
St Helens in round 3.
That was a surprise.
And they stunned Catalan in round 5, only for this to happen.
But see what I mean? Hot and cold. Just can't get a read. They've been a bit too inconsistent to start the year. They need to get some consistency.
Whereas, well, okay, I mean, sure, they lost the league, but they also beat a championship favourite in Wigan as well. Not many clubs can claim to have done that.
No, not at all. But that was a surprise victory that no one would have really expected.
Given where these two sides are at the moment, Hull FC struggling to no end, have not recorded a win since round 2. The Robins are playing a lot more confidence and a lot more class about them. I think the Robins win their second.
And I believe that's without Ryan Hall too.
No, Ryan Hall was in.
He's in? I thought he was out injured.
That was a week prior.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
He came back in.
My bad, I thought he was out for 3 weeks.
So, yeah, Hull KR win their second straight Good Friday derby against their West End rivals.
This time
7-12.
Yeah. Hull KR did a way better side of a Hull FC this season by quite a mile. But yeah, Hull KR 7-12.
Now, the penultimate Good Friday clash. Is this a potential grand final preview? The Wigan Warriors at the DW Stadium playing host to the reigning champions St Helens.
Well, potentially. As we know, St Helens beat Wakefield 38-0. And Wigan, well, no surprises, he beat the Lee Leopards 34 points to 6.
For the Lee Sports Village, that was a sold-out crowd. The biggest crowd attendance, I mean, you could call it 9,000 and X, but still, for that venue, that is the biggest crowd attendance they ever had.
Yeah, right.
And despite...
most of them probably Wigan supporters.
And locals, remember, the Battle of the Borough.
Yes, true.
And despite Lee getting off to the best start, look, it was the class of the Warriors that shone through in the end.
I mean, the Leopards were only 4 points behind at the break. Wigan were up 10-6 at the break. But then...
on what was it? Another 4 tries afterwards?
Yeah, we'll enter Highfield as again.
Well, there
And
is
Bevan
bad
French.
news on that front concerning Jai Field. A blow that he will not feature in this Good Friday clash.
Oh, that's going to hurt Wigan.
He was helped off the field after he did his hamstring injury, and it was later confirmed he's facing up to 2 months on the sideline.
Oh, yeah, that's going to hurt Wigan.
Liam Marshall also copped a stud in his foot. So
He
remains doubtful for Good Friday as well. On top of Cade Cuss with a bulging disc in his neck.
Oh, that's not good at all.
So I would actually think I just mentioned off there maybe Wigan's best spine is Cade Cuss in its standoff. He's probably not going to be there either.
Probably not. I
So
wouldn't
there
think
is
so.
a key personnel concern.
Yeah,
for the
no
Wigan
Field,
Warriors at the
no
moment.
Marshall, and no Cust. You don't want to lose those three in this big matchup.
This will be the biggest matchup of the round. Probably over the first 2 months, until this point. I mean, considering Warrington are yet to be properly tested, but they've stood up to every opposition so far.
So far, so good.
Bevan French, when Field went down, French stood up. 1 try, 2 try assists, 199 run meters, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 1 offload, and he even forced a goal line dropout. He's that good.
Yeah. That's the class of Bevan French right there, ladies and gentlemen.
But the try assists, can we just talk about one of them for Jake Wardle?
Yes.
How good was the setup for that?
Excellent. Outstanding rugby
and
league.
then the beautiful cut-up pass, I think it was for one of Abbas Miski's tries as well.
Yeah. Can I just say, Champagne Rugby League.
Yes, if Fatty Vorton watched that game, he'd probably think it was champagne.
Yeah, exactly right. But, yeah, Wigan way too outclassy for the Leopards there, which was, again, no surprise.
Lee, it was just a matter of class difference. Even with their strike weapons like Shanley, Hardacre, reliable. Oh, they lost Gareth O'Brien in the midst of it all, failing his HIA. So, of course, 11 days stand down from him, so he's out. Ben Kubawai did his knee, so he's now out for up to a month as well. So they were down to 15 for a large portion of it, and unfortunately, it showed. As for the Saints, no Alex Walmsley. He's out for up to a month with a hamstring injury. They're saying round 10 at the earliest he might be back. But other than that, Saints' forward pack is very resilient. I would expect now Ignatius Parsi to start with Matty Lee. He's in the front row, and then maybe Dan Norman or Sam Royal get another crack in the
say
side.
it might be Dan Norman, to be quite honest with you. Could be Rondo.
But Saints are now building once again to the runaway freight train that they have been over the course of these last 4 years.
Yeah, that is true.
It is now becoming even more apparent. It's getting scary that Saints are coming back after that World Cup hangover, and it's just like, oh shit.
Well, there's still a game less, remember?
They're still a game down, yes, but they have won the last 2, Wigan.
And they've had how many losses so far this year?
Saints are 4-2, Wigan 5-2 with a game the difference.
So really, St. Helens have lost 2 games this year, and how many did they lose in total last year? Probably
4.
Well, there you go.
At least close to it.
Yeah. What's really going to hurt for this one would have been a really spicy matchup if both were full strength sides.
This is a grand final preview if they're full strength.
Yeah. But without Field, Marshall, and Cust, that's going to really let Wigan down this one. Yes, there's no Walmsley for St. Helens, but
they have been able to play without Walmsley for extended periods in the past, and they've actually done pretty good job.
They certainly have.
St. Helens win the Good Friday derby between these two sides. 7-12, I think it could turn into a defensive shutout if Saints are really on the ball. But bottom line, they're climbing fast, and the whole comp better watch over their necks.
And as we know, St. Helens, without this full strength side, they can still win and win convincingly. But yeah, St. Helens win this one 7-12 in my view.
Now moving on On from the Good Friday, blockbusters. We have the Lee Leopards at home to the Salford Red Devils on the Saturday local time, which will of course be Easter Sunday. We already touched on no Nakubawai and no Gareth O'Brien for Adrian Lamb's side. For Paul Rowley's side, it doesn't get any better after going down 26-16 to the Huddersfield Giants. Joe Burgess withdrew from the match 2 minutes out from halftime, clutching at his ribs.
Oh, sugar.
And so they're just waiting at this point to see how he pulls up. As it follows on from last week, that Tim Laffey and Army Aburo were both looking at extended periods on the sidelines. But focusing on the loss against Huddersfield, it didn't help that they tried shifting the ball early, only for it to go behind a runner and Owen Trout, the unlikely first try scorer.
Yeah, that didn't help at all. I think Salford, again, are too hot and cold to start the... I think they've had how many wins? 3? 2? 2 or 3 wins to start the year?
Couple of wins.
They've just been a bit hot and cold to start the season. And look, having all the injury crises that we have had to start the season, you can understand. But I'm saying it now, unless the injuries happen at the beginning of the year, not at the business end of the year, where it counts. But still, you need to get those early wins on because something could happen at the back end of the season that could cost them. But for them to be so close to the grand final last year and they're playing how they are at the start of this season is, I'm going to say, disappointing.
The fact that they gave up the first try like that, and then they took advantage, I think, Huddersfield, of the fact that Joe Burgess was not defending out there. So their defensive patterns out that side got disrupted majorly, which Huddersfield's right edge took full advantage of. Kevin Nagama played an outstanding game, I believe. 175 run meters, 2 try assists, 5 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, and 1 offload. They were just peppering Salford's left side defensively. Owen Trout was the beneficiary once again. Then a miracle or offload from Kevin Nagama ended up in the breadbasket of Chris McQueen.
Yeah,
another try for him.
Yeah, that was very solid there. Good lead-up work for Nagama, try assisting Chris McQueen. I believe that was the side that Joe Burgess went down on. That's why, so that did not help Salford whatsoever. And obviously Huddersfield spotted that and targeted that side quite easily, and it paid off for him.
Evenly poised at one point, Huddersfield were only adding penalty goal, or just keeping their heads above water at point. But the second try, either Owen Trout, and of course Ash Golding had his contribution. I think he might have actually been the first try scorer. Now that I think about reflecting on the highlights.
Yes.
But the middle period, Trout's double, followed by McQueen's in solo, just put the result beyond any reasonable doubt after Salford were only trailing by 8 at the break.
Yeah, see, Salford was still in it, but just couldn't get going. Well, they started to get a groove going, but it wasn't enough to get them the victory, and Huddersfield just too good in the end.
The dynamic Ian Watson ran with Jake Connor in the halves, Tui Lalahia off the bench with Will Price starting.
That's very interesting.
Well, I mean, you had to fit all 3 of them in there, but the concerns for Huddersfield are as follows: no Will Price and no Ash Golding either. For Golding, he was forced from the game in the final stages because he rolled his ankle, and it was the same story with Will Price as well, also doing his ankle. So whether they pull up in time for Easter Monday, I think that's another thing entirely. As for Salford, they need another 2 points.
You mean Easter Saturday? Oh, wait, sorry. My bad.
Local time, Easter Sunday.
My bad.
They need another win against Leeds just to keep their heads in it at the moment. They're 7th on the table, 3-4, having lost the last 2. They need a win against Leeds just to keep in touch with the top 6, because Warrington's got the benchmark. Catalan and down to Hull KR are trying to chase them.
Yeah.
They need to keep in touch with that top 6 pack. If not, it could be a long year.
It already feels like a long
I
year.
think they'll still be strong enough to take on Salford, even with all the injuries and the missing players they do have. Walk away 1-6.
Who's that? Salford.
Yeah, Salford
Yeah.
walk away.
Look, against Lee, it should be, well, I was going to say it should be a comfortable victory, but Lee haven't been going too bad this season. They're going a little bit better than what everyone had expected, or between us two anyway. But I still think Salford will be too strong, even with Laffey, Burgess and the likes. Salford 7-12.
Now, and it all concludes on Easter Sunday with the Catalan Dragons playing host to the unbeaten Wolves.
1 versus 2 or 2v1?
It's 1 versus... Yeah, it is actually a top 2.
Well, Catalan's a home ground, so they're
Subject
second.
to what happens between Wigan and St Helens.
Yes. But as it stands, it's top 2 battle. This is going to be a fantastic match to watch.
It'll be interesting to see how they use Sam Tompkins, I think, because he would come off the interchange again, or they could opt to start him at fullback. Ignacio Moore goes back to the bench.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they'll probably keep Morg at fullback or wherever. I'm guessing fullback. With Sam Tompkins coming off the bench. Because Sam Tompkins is a quality player as we know, but so is Morg. But with Sam Tompkins only getting some minutes underneath his belt last week, I'd say they'll ease him into it.
So you think off the bench again?
Again, but he'll get more minutes off the bench this time than what he did last time, especially up against a 7-0 Warrington side that are absolutely
Warrington,
flying.
of course, they had to get the job done against Hollisey with no Darryl Clark. He's out for at least another 2 weeks after this weekend. So good news, Uz Clark's going to be back soon, and Danny Walker will do a very good job in the meantime. Matty Russell is not expected to be fit, but good news, Josh Fulis will probably reclaim his starting spot anyway, and then there'll be an option for another forward. Particularly if that forward's name is Josh Maguire, who will be available after a 6-game ban or 7-week ban during one of the testimonial games against Lee, where he got red carded.
Yeah. So that adds some really good depth to the Warrington side, who are, like us, we've been saying, high flying. Could he help them go that little bit further? I mean, I have to say the standout player for Warrington so far this year has to be George Williams, by far.
In 7 games, you want to know what the differential is for the Warrington Wolves at the moment?
What, the for or the against?
That's the differential, for and against.
So it'll be heaps of fours, less against. So I'm going to say it's going to be a positive, maybe positive 120?
Close. 150 differential.
150, wow.
150 from 7 wins, no losses. A total of 232 points to 82 they've conceded.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
And almost half of them was in one game against Lee on its own. Or a quarter of them, actually. So that is crazy. The number of tries they've been able to lay on. And the big margins they've secured.
I was going to say, it's not just the tries. It's the penalty goals and conversions and field goals to go with it. Every point counts, as they say.
And this particular rivalry they've got against the Catalan Dragons, they've traded wins on and off really for some time, but heightened especially considering that Catalan beat Warrington to become the first ever non-English side to claim the Challenge Cup 5 years ago.
That long ago?
5 years it's been since Catalan claimed the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, right.
And that was a monumental day for rugby league.
It's good to see, though. Obviously.
Yeah.
They call it rival grounds for a reason. Unpredictability. And it's a top 2 battle. Does Warrington go 7-1? 6.
7-1. You had it right the first time. We're up to round 8, remember?
Yeah. Did I go 7-1 or did I go 8-0?
I see no particular reason why they can't go 8-0.
Isn't South of France a bit of a bogey ground for Warrington, or is that a pretty solid
They
game?
have been able to win there in the past. Catalan will need to be able to match it with the forward pack Warrington have got. And unlike Holes, Warrington's pack's a big-ass punch. Even with Tom McKaylee leaving after the result against Hull, he's now with the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
they'll still be strong enough through the middle, with Philbin probably getting a start and Josh Maguire getting his first crack as a Warrington and Wolf as well. Warrington win this. I think a bit more competitive, but still the result 7-12 win for me.
I'm going to say Warrington win this one 1-6. It's going to be a very, very competitive match, but the rate that Warrington have been playing, have just been way, 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 way too good this season. Yeah, it's going to be a close match.
And finally, to wrap up the entire event, Easter Monday, the Leeds Rhinos against the Huddersfield Giants. Of course, we've touched on no Will Price, no Ash Golding for Huddersfield. Leeds aren't exactly squeaky clean.
Well, no, Cruz Leeming. Cruz Leeming's gone.
He's officially out of the club, so Jared O'Connor, the sole responsibility of the hooking role falls to him. David Foster-Tua limped off the field due to injuring his left ankle. Also, Rowan Smith saying it's a medium-term injury at the very least, so he's not going to be playing on Easter Sunday local time. I'm for the Rhinos, so I'd expect Lewis Roberts to continue on the flank in his absence, but Leeds are too unpredictable to read at this point.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to get a read on them. Who did you say was taking over the dummy half role?
Jared O'Connor.
What happens if he goes down injured? Who have they got at the backup there? Not very many.
I think Corey Johnson, is the other Leeds hooker on the books.
Yeah, well, there's not much depth in the hooking stocks there for the Rhinos, so that could maybe hurt them, but we just don't know. Huddersfield, again, they're quiet achievers.
Yeah, Corey Johnson wearing 26. He's the other dummy half on the books.
Yeah. Huddersfield, they've been going pretty solid to start the year. Again, being quiet achievers like they were last year. That's why they snuck into third on the ladder last season. And they seem to be continuing that this season. I think they're sitting
sixth on the table after the win against Salford. They had a couple of narrow losses to both Wigan and St Helens, 2 points in it. They blew Castleford off the park and went down to Warrington in a spirited contest.
Hey, what was the score in that Warrington-Huddersfield match?
26-16.
Yeah. So they can play with the top dogs, like your Warrington, your St Helens and your Wigan.
They could almost match it, but they just... Something was lacking, and I think now that Jake Connor's actually getting game time under his belt, it could only be a matter of time before he really starts to impose himself on the competition.
I did say to Huddersfield to make it the top two, take out the league leader shield as like a bit of a dark horse this season, and they are still somewhat of a dark horse regardless of where they are on a ladder.
I think for me, if they are able to keep Leeds out, they can't afford to concede late tries, especially if it goes to a tight contest. Last year, it was forced into a draw, even after 10 minutes worth of golden point. No one could ice a drop goal to win the game at 20-all.
That is true.
So they need to be able to avoid that again. But I'm just looking at this Huddersfield lineup. I mean, sure, no Golding, no Price. Lola here for me would slot immediately back into the fullback role. And if they manage to get Jake Bibby or Jermaine McGilvery back, they would instantly slide into that right wing spot. And then a door would open up perhaps depending who's available, Josh Jones, maybe, just looking at who's out. Harvey Levette might get a call up as well. I actually like what the Rugby League Project have done. They've actually added what the changes have been on the previous week. So the ins, the outs, and the changes positionally as well. I think that's a nice touch.
Very good. Helps.
So I could
all fans out.
Harvey Levette might be recalled as another forward option off the bench, but I think Jake Connor could inspire Huddersfield to an Easter Monday win at Headingley. The Giants to win this 1-6.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you there. Huddersfield won this. I know Huddersfield are going. Well, I don't know. I'm predicting Huddersfield will win this one, but I don't know if it's going to be a close contest or a bit of a blowout score. But I'm going to say Huddersfield 1-6. Just purely based on that, Leeds Rhinos have just been too unpredictable this season. I mean, they're very hot and cold to start the year. That will continue on for a few more weeks to come, but Huddersfield win this one.
Yeah, I think it's going to go that way. Claret and gold, back to back. And on that note, it is full time. I'm here from us, but if you like this part or the NRL debrief that followed on earlier in the piece, whether that be 24 hours or an hour earlier, make sure you leave this one a like, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell to allow for notifications so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Don't forget to give us a follow on our social media pages. We post all our tips and leaderboards for standout players up there. On Facebook and on Instagram is at Sideline Chat, and on Twitter is at Sideline Chat RL, our hashtag SideChatYT. Happy Easter to everyone wherever you are in the world, and we will be back again after a bonanza weekend of rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Connor Marcellus, and we will see you next time.
Catch you later. Have a good Easter, everyone.